Today's episode dives deep into the pulse of Cincinnati. We're zeroing in on two names that have lit up headlines this week: Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson. Let's start with Stewart. Once again, he's stirring conversations, and not just with his words, but with how he's saying them. He recently met with the media, and while his comments weren't technically off base, the tone, that's where things get complicated. He hasn't played a single down for the Bengals yet, but he's already going head-to-head with the organization. It's a bold approach, and it's raising eyebrows in the locker room, in the front office, and among fans. Is he out of line, or is he exposing something deeper? We'll break that down. But before we dive deeper into all of this, before we get to the latest breaking news, do us a solid. Hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, and tap the bell icon so you never miss an update from the jungle. Your support helps us bring you sharper, stronger Bengals coverage every week. Now, let's get into it. Back to Shamar Stewart. The clips of his media scrum have already gone viral, not because of what he said, but because of how it came off. There's a difference between confidence and confrontation, and Stewart might be towing that line a little too early. Now, pivoting to Trey Hendrickson, Diana Rossini from The Athletic has provided some new insight into where things stand between him and the team. It's a story that's quietly developing, but could have major implications if it heats up during training camp. Are the Bengals in the right here? Is Stewart overstepping? We'll explore both sides and let you decide who's got the stronger case. Stay tuned. We'll be covering minicamp winners and losers later this week. But for now, this episode is all about the big personalities making noise off the field. Shamar Stewart didn't hold back, and now the temperature inside the Bengals locker room just went up a few degrees. He said, "I'm 100% right. I'm not asking for anything y'all haven't done before, but y'all care more about winning arguments than winning games." That's not a subtle shot. That's a direct challenge to the front office. And sure, the Bengals have a long documented history of tension between players and the organization, from Jesse Bates and Carlos Dunlap to Andrew Whitworth and beyond. This isn't new territory. What is new is how publicly and prematurely Stewart is choosing to plant his flag. Look, you haven't played a single down for this team yet. You were drafted in the first round, you've got a solid rookie contract, and you're already going toe-to-toe with the people who brought you in. That's not just bold, it's reckless. Yes, he did eventually say he's holding out until things get resolved, but the delivery? It felt more like a public tantrum than a professional stance, and that's where it rubs fans and veterans the wrong way. Compare that to Trey Hendrickson, who's had his own contract frustrations over the years. He's never dragged the team into the media spotlight like this. Hendrickson let his play do the talking. Stewart, on the other hand, is all talk, and not a single snap to show for it. Then he adds, "Trying to implement something new to me is unfair. I've been nothing but fair. I'm not asking for anything crazy." That may be how he sees it, but when you're brand new and unproven, tone matters just as much as content. And the tone here, it's creating friction that doesn't need to exist. At a time when the Bengals are laser focused on building a Super Bowl caliber team, this kind of noise isn't just unnecessary, it's distracting. And for a rookie, that's not the kind of first impression you want to make in Cincinnati. Let's be clear, this is about more than money. This is about precedent. The Bengals are drawing a hard line in the sand with Shamar Stewart, and from his perspective, it feels like a double standard. He's looking around at how other first-round picks were handled in the past and asking one thing: why is it different for me? And honestly, that's a fair question. This isn't just about contract terms. This is about trust, culture, and control. And when you're a 21-year-old walking into a historic and often rigid NFL organization, that tension was almost guaranteed. Let's not pretend either side is spotless. The Bengals have a long track record of player disputes. Stewart, on the other hand, hasn't played a single snap and already feels like he's clashing with the front office. So, who's in the right? You tell me. Stewart or the Bengals? If you're asking me, and I know this won't be a popular opinion, I lean slightly in Stewart's direction. Not because of how he said things. I've already said that came off as immature. But because of what he said. His frustration isn't made up. The inconsistency in how players are treated is real. Just look at Demetrius Knight Jr., a second-round pick. He signed the injury waiver and went straight to work. No drama, no headlines. Now, we don't know every detail of that waiver, but the basics are clear. It protects the team more than it protects the player, and that's exactly what Stewart's holding out over. It's not about entitlement. It's about knowing your value, protecting your future, and refusing to be the one who silently takes the hit so the next guy doesn't have to. This moment, right here, might define the kind of relationship Shamar Stewart will have with the Bengals for years to come. And however it plays out, it's something this front office will have to manage with more awareness than ego. There's a brutal reality to all of this. If Shamar Stewart were to get injured before signing his deal, everything could change. And he knows it. But here's the bigger issue. He needs those reps. This isn't a guy with 4 years of dominant college tape. The Bengals didn't draft him because of what he's done. They drafted him because of what he might become. His upside, his ceiling, that raw potential. And potential only becomes production through reps. Right now, Stewart isn't getting any. If this standoff continues into training camp, Cincinnati risks watching a repeat of the Myles Murphy situation. A first-round pick drafted to fill a critical need, spending year one largely invisible. That can't happen again, not with the stakes this high and the roster window this narrow. Let's be real. If you're Stewart, refusing to sign the injury waiver might seem like protecting yourself, and it is. But at what cost? Every day missed is a step backward in development, and when the season arrives, if you're not sharp, the staff won't wait around. You won't see the field much, and your leverage in any future negotiation? Gone. Yes, the waiver situation is frustrating. Yes, it feels like the Bengals are drawing a line they haven't drawn for others. But sometimes the smart play is the long one. Sign it. Get on the field. Prove yourself. Then you hold real leverage, not theoretical. And all of this, it's part of a broader pattern with this front office. Let's rewind to the situations with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Both elite talents. Both contract headaches. Could the Bengals have avoided the distractions? Absolutely. Could they have locked in Chase a year earlier and saved both money and media chaos? No question. That delay cost them, in dollars and in focus. And what about Jermaine Pratt? They clearly planned to move on, drafted 2 linebackers as insurance, but then stalled, holding him in limbo. Yes, they had the right to do that, but the way it unfolded felt messy. It sent the message, we'll do what's best for us, even if it leaves you hanging. That's the environment Shamar Stewart is walking into, and he's feeling it, loudly. But here's the thing. The Bengals aren't wrong for protecting themselves, and Stewart isn't wrong for wanting security. The problem is the standoff is costing everyone, and if it drags into camp, the ripple effects could hit the season before it even begins. Let's be honest, the Bengals don't exactly have a glowing history of graceful exits. Whether it's longtime contributors or rookies walking into chaos, too often it feels like this franchise prioritizes leverage over loyalty. But in the case of Shamar Stewart, it's hard to ignore one simple fact. You're a rookie, you're getting first-round money, and it's time to get on the field. The Bengals may not be handling everything perfectly. In fact, they rarely do. But continuing to sit on the sidelines helps no one, least of all yourself. Now, let's pivot to the next storm quietly brewing. Trey Hendrickson. According to Diana Rossini, the Bengals made contact with Hendrickson on June 9th, the day before mandatory minicamp began. That conversation? Zero progress. The message from Hendrickson's camp was crystal clear. Pay me what I'm worth or send me somewhere that will. And the Bengals' response? A shrug. A polite, we're sorry you feel that way. This standoff with Hendrickson isn't just about one player. It's a tone setter for the locker room. When your most consistent pass rusher, one of the emotional leaders of the defense, draws a line in the sand, how you respond sends a message to every other player in that room. It's the kind of moment where great organizations move decisively. Cincinnati? They're still calculating. And in the meantime, you've got one first round pick not practicing and one Pro Bowl veteran unsure if he'll even suit up in week 1. The Bengals are on the edge of something, either a team ready to take the next step or one stuck in the same cycle of mismanagement that's haunted them for years. What happens with Stewart and Hendrickson in the next few weeks might tip the scale either way. Let's talk about the two elephants in the room, Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson. The Bengals are playing hardball with both, but the way these standoffs are unfolding feels very different. With Stewart, there's a chance they cave first. He's a rookie. They tried to introduce a new contract precedent, and it backfired. At some point, Cincinnati may just decide to get him on the field and sort it out later. Hendrickson's case is trickier. Yes, he deserves top-tier money based on the past 2 seasons, no doubt. But the Bengals aren't paying him for the past. They're trying to predict the future. And quietly, they may believe his best football is behind him. Now, I still think Hendrickson can be dominant in 2025. Double-digit sacks, tone setter on defense, no question. But he's also 30, and the drop-off curve is real. So, when Cincinnati reportedly offered him around $28 million per year, that might have been their ceiling. Personally, I think $30 million makes sense. But if Hendrickson's camp is asking for $35 million plus, that's Myles Garrett territory. And the Bengals aren't biting. Here's the bigger issue. This drama never stops. Every year, it's something. Last year, it was T. Higgins. Before that, it was Jesse Bates. This year, it's Hendrickson and Stewart. And Joe Burrow made it plain. Yes, it's a distraction. Fewer than last year? Sure. But still, it lingers. And when front offices and locker rooms are constantly out of sync, it shows up in the win column. It's exhausting. And worse, it chips away at culture. Cincinnati has built something special the last few years. But sustained success in the NFL requires alignment, not tension. Winning rosters can't keep circling the same battles every offseason. So, now we wait. The Bengals reached out. Hendrickson pushed back. The two sides are close, but close doesn't count when training camp is around the corner. Will they find a middle ground? $30 million might get it done. But if Hendrickson's aiming higher, Cincinnati may just ride out the storm. And storms in Cincinnati are becoming an annual tradition.